So here we go, Joey. I did a study. I said, all right, let's go back 20 years. So that's a broad study. We went back 2 decades, 20 years. And we took drafted quarterbacks, most in the first round, but we put a Russell Wilson in there and a Dak in there. Quarterbacks drafted and allowed to start for the team that drafted them fairly quickly. And then we went back number 3 and we looked at the franchise. In the previous 5 years, before the franchise drafted that said quarterback, how many times did they make the playoffs? And here's what we found. 20 years, quarterbacks drafted and allowed to play for that franchise, and a lot of first-rounders, mostly first-rounders. And then, how good was the franchise you landed in the previous 5 years? Were you a playoff franchise or a winning franchise? So the quarterbacks who landed in the most successful franchises, and I'm going to count Aaron Rodgers here, although he wasn't allowed to play for 3 years, but you can or can't count him, it doesn't matter. The guys that landed with the most successful franchises before they got there: Brady, Patriots had 3 winning seasons in 5 years. Aaron Rodgers, they had 5 winning seasons. Jay Cutler, Broncos. Andrew Luck, Colts. Jimmy Garoppolo, Patriots. Deshaun Watson, Texans. And Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs. They all ended up with winning franchises. Well, what do you know? Mahomes is a legend. Brady's a legend. Rodgers is a legend. Luck was on his way to being a legend. Deshaun Watson's very good, and Garoppolo got to a Super Bowl. So now let's look at the quarterbacks who went to franchises that had some success, not totally dysfunctional, but not great either. Oh, Michael Vick, Eli Manning, Alex Smith, Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco, Mark Sanchez, Russell Wilson, Dak, Carson Wentz, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Not as many Super Bowls. Big Ben is in there. So you have a couple. Eli's in there. But I don't think Eli's regular seasons have been anything to speak of. So what do you get with the guys who landed at moderately successful organizations? You get some winning. Not as much as the Brady, Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes is going to win. But you get some winning. Now let's go to the quarterbacks who were drafted to grease fire organizations. Two of them are going to get a lot of Hall of Fame votes. And both had to leave their franchises. Drew Brees and Carson Palmer. Those are the 2 best. They both had more success leaving. Carson Palmer has an all-time losing record in Cincinnati, a much better winning percentage in Arizona. So Brees and Palmer were gifted enough to move away from their initial lousy team and become Hall of Fame level players. The rest of it is a series of talented guys who couldn't overcome the mess. Daniel Jones, Darnold, Baker, Trubisky, Goff, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Ryan Tannehill, Cam Newton, Andy Dalton, Matt Stafford, who still never won a division, Phillip Rivers. A lot of them are talented, but they couldn't overcome the mess. So the point being, we went back 20 years. We looked at guys that were drafted and allowed to start pretty early. The only one that really didn't win a bunch was Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler last 20 years went to a good team. The Denver Broncos had 4 winning seasons, previous 5, and he was about a 500 quarterback. He had talent, but the new coach, Josh McDaniels, didn't like him. Outside of that, it's a lot of winners. The next group, semi-successful organization, couple Super Bowls, some winners, but not as much success. And the lousy teams, only Drew Brees and Carson Palmer are going to get Hall of Fame votes, and both had to leave their organizations. Translation: that's why I'm critical of Joe Burrow. Not him, he's a B-plus prospect. I see him like Deshaun Watson, a B-plus prospect. But I don't think Joe's talented enough, playing the Ravens twice, the Steelers twice, and the Browns defensive front twice to overcome it. I think he's going to get beat up a lot, and he's not going to be nearly as good as a number 1 quarterback would be. Now, if he got traded down to Miami, who I like their coach more and the organization slightly more, he'd have more success. If he got traded down even further to a Chargers, a team ready to win now, I think he'd be a Hall of Fame level kind of guy. He'd be Deshaun. He'd be a Pro Bowl guy. So when you look at all these quarterbacks, they've all got an issue. Burrow doesn't have a great arm. Tua's got a medical issue. Justin Herbert's not good off script. I would say Jordan Love is seen as a little immature, a little young, a little loose. Got to tighten it up. And then there's Jacob Eason, who is just a pocket guy, can't move at all. Big arm pocket guy. What's it mean? Where they go is going to matter. Where they go is going to matter. And remember this, Carson Palmer is way more talented than any of these guys in this draft. Carson Palmer is the most talented USC quarterback they've ever had. In L.A., where half the country gets the quarterbacks in California. Carson Palmer was 6'4", rocket arm, good body, could move. He was perfect. Pete Carroll lucked out. He gets a job with USC and he inherits Carson Palmer. That's why Pete could turn it around by the middle of year 2. Carson Palmer. So it just goes to show you, you're not. There's no Carson Palmer in this draft. Burrow doesn't have his arm. Justin Herbert doesn't have his off-script talent. Tua's not as big or as medically safe. Jacob Eason's not close in talent, and Jordan Love doesn't have his notches on the belt. So there's no Carson Palmer in this draft. There is not. And Carson Palmer had to leave to have a higher winning percentage. So it tells you, I'm not critical of Joe Burrow. I think he's a very, very solid B-plus quarterback prospect. He's not Elway. He's not Carson Palmer. He's not Andrew Luck, but he's very, very good. But can he overcome Cincinnati? Right now, they easily have the 4th best roster just in their division.